Thank you. Wasn't that interesting? Basically, when I yelled that out, everyone in the back, can you all please move closer? I'd like to see who I'm speaking to. And come on, get in here. Get in closer. I can see you in the front here. Come on. Don't be shy. What is this? There's no social distancing in this room. Not now, not ever. Not ever. So when I yelled out Aussie, 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 I got told off. The president said, Senator Babet, that's disorderly. I didn't think it was disorderly at all. I thought it was quite fitting for a maiden speech, a first speech in Parliament House, to display my patriotism for the country that I love so much. Something that is sorely lacking in Canberra, in my humble opinion. Sorely lacking. Now, how many of you here know who Sir Edmund Hillary is? Raise your hand. Oh, quite a few. Who was Sir Edmund Hillary? Yell it out. Louder. That's right. He was a New Zealand beekeeper, and he famously went on to become the first man in history to successfully climb to the top of Mount Everest. But he did not accomplish this feat on his first attempt. No, he did not. So after a failed attempt at climbing planet Earth's tallest mountain, Sir Edmund Hillary stood before his supporters and he confidently declared, I will conquer the world's highest mountain. I will. Now his supporters, they were confused. After all, he had just failed. He didn't do it. How, having failed to reach the summit, could he be so confident of eventual success? Well, I'll tell you what he said. He pointed to a picture of Mount Everest on a wall behind him, and he declared, this is what he said. He said, I will conquer the world's highest mountain because Everest cannot get any bigger, but I can. That's what he said. Thank you. That's what he said. Great man. Now, he eventually went on to become the first man to stand atop the Himalayan summit, and he was immortalized in the pages of history. Now, although it's true that the UAP fell short of winning a seat in the Victorian election, and we didn't quite reach the heights that we had hoped for, what is not true is that failing to win a seat is a setback. It is not a setback. Now we have to keep this in mind. Keep this in mind. Labor formed government, but with their lowest primary vote since the 1930s. And the major party vote overall is declining. It's declining, it's not going up. Now that has been our very real impact on the status quo. It has been our very real impact on the two-party system. So that's what our impact has been. Now it is only a matter of time, and things can and will change. And it will happen very, very quickly. Now we only have to look at examples all around the world, such as in Italy, where Giorgia Meloni, the leader of the Conservative Party named the Brothers of Italy, has now formed the coalition government. Now, Prime Minister Meloni only received a few percent of the vote previously. Now, today she's the Prime Minister. Now, in part, on the back of conservative, Italy first family values. Now, it just goes to show that being conservative, it is indeed cool, as Rowan Dean would say, and it will absolutely result in success if we stay the course. But we have to stay the course. Now, unfortunately, I believe that things will get worse before they get better. But I promise you this, things will get better. Now, the recently completed election campaign was an important stepping stone on our journey, not only to electoral success, but to structural change in our great nation. Nothing that is worthwhile in life ever comes easy. Anyone over 30 knows that already. Now, this is a journey, and we need to remember these facts. I'm going to give them to you right now. The Labour Party, founded in 1901. The Liberal Party, founded in 1944. The Greens, founded 1992. The United Australia Party, founded in 2013. Now, in political terms, we've been on the scene for 5 minutes. That's how long? 5 minutes. It's going to take longer than that to effect structural change. Now, the media and everyone else, they'll want to judge us on where we are. But you cannot know where we are unless you first take into account where we have come from. The party didn't even exist 10 years ago. And yet today, though not having won a seat in the Victorian Parliament, we are already a highly influential movement, and that is what we are. We are a movement. A movement. Not so much a party. I'll say it again, a movement. We have the most energetic and engaged group of members, volunteers, and supporters of any Conservative party in our country. We have a brand recognition that other parties could only dream of. Everyone knows that the Yellows and UAP. We have people wanting to stand for election under the UAP banner who are first-class candidates, who are passionate, and who strongly believe in the values that we hold dear in our hearts. You saw them before. They're just like you. They're normal, ordinary, hard-working people that live in the suburbs. No one in the UAP that's come up to put their hand up has been a career politician. They've all been ordinary people, and that's very, very important. It's very important. For too long, we have left the political process to professional politicians. That's why we're where we are today. Now, the values that we hold are clear. We will never falter from our values. We will never break them. We will never disregard them for any reason at all, unlike some of the parties which I will not name. Now, government needs to stay out of our lives. They must be just big enough to make our lives easier, but not so big that they rule and they control our lives. The priority of elected members must be to eliminate bureaucratic red and green tape and allow free enterprise to flourish. We must foster competition among private enterprise, and we must discourage monopolies. Competition always favours the end consumer. We must protect our freedoms. Freedom is not just a word. It's not just a word. We believe in freedom. Freedom of speech, of assembly, of religion, bodily autonomy, movement, and association. Family. Family is the bedrock of a democracy and our nation. For decades, society and governments have been actively eroding family values. We believe in putting the family at the forefront of our decision making. Strong families build a strong nation. We must think and we must plan for future generations. They currently only think in 3 or 4 year election cycles. We must protect children and cease the indoctrination constantly being forced into their young minds. Instead, children should be taught how to think, not what they should think. We must protect the rights of all individuals. As the Declaration of Independence so eloquently and simply puts it, our right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Our government should be like a good sports umpire. Present, effective, but not noticed, in the background. They must stay out of the way. We are the masters of our own destiny. They are not. Now, we have not reached the summit, but we are closer than we were before. We are slowly but surely being given an opportunity to influence policy through the media, through you, the members, through our staunch and unwavering values. This was not our time, but as surely as I stand here today and you stand in this room, our time will come. The critics will write us off at their own peril. We are rising, and 2022 is just another step in that gradual but certain ascent. Now, I want to personally congratulate every UAP candidate who stood for election last month. Every single candidate did all of us proud. They argued our principles. They represented our values, which I just listed. They made all of our presence felt. They learned lessons that will make them formidable when the next campaign comes around. And I want to personally thank every one of our volunteers and supporters as well. Your tireless work combined with your unfailing positive attitude reflected well on our party during this campaign. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Remember, nothing changes until you say it has to change. So if we want change, it does not come from me. It definitely doesn't come from Canberra. It comes from you. You've got to stand up and say, no, not on my watch, I've had enough. That's when the change happens. The politicians don't give a damn about you. I was going to say something else. They don't give a damn, right? The only thing they care about is the ballot box. When you start showing them at the ballot box what you think, what you feel, it will change. It will change very, very quickly. Now, the United Australian Party is now well known for its committed, decent, principled and upstanding members, and our reward at this ballot box will come, I can promise you that. Now, there are just two things I want to ask of every person who counts themselves part of this fledgling but great conservative political movement. First, I want to ask that you maintain the faith. Politics is not a sprint, it is a marathon. It's not about one election, it's not about doing the right, it's actually about doing the right things. Election after election after election, until the momentum builds. Until the momentum becomes unstoppable. That's what it's about. Second, I want to ask that you keep up the fight. The official election campaign is now over, but you and I both know, all of us in this room, know that the campaigning never ends. It never ends. Now, you must continue to espouse our conservative values every single chance you have. To your friends, to your colleagues, to your family, to everyone. You see something you don't like, talk about it. Talk to your family, talk to your friends. Nobody knows what's going on unless you tell them, because the media won't, it's up to you. And for those extroverts in the audience, inform strangers if you can. Talk about the issues that we have to people you don't really know that well or don't know at all. Change comes from you, don't forget that. Ultimately, our goal is not simply to win parliamentary seats. Our goal is to influence the whole nation with principles and values that will benefit all the families in our country. That's our goal. So the election has ended. But the need to argue our cause and win hearts and minds, that remains. The next federal election, it's around the corner. It's a couple of years away. But we start campaigning right now. There's no time to waste. We will ultimately win seats in the Parliament of Victoria, and we will win more seats in federal Parliament. But when we win the seats, I'm hoping that every single one of you here today is here again for that massive party. And it's going to be a big one. Now, our climb has just begun, but our ascent is assured, but only if we stay true to who we are. Good people, united in the belief that Australia is indeed the greatest nation on earth, no matter what some of those naysayers might say. And you know what, if we have anything to do with it, it will continue to be the greatest nation on earth. Now, in 1952, people mocked the idea that anyone, least of all, a beekeeper from Auckland, New Zealand, would ever stand at the summit of the world's highest mountain. Yet by 1953, the impossible summit had well and truly been conquered. You need to keep the faith. You need to keep up the fight. We are the UAP, all of us, and we will never give up and we will never give in. Now remember, elections come and go, but ideas are forever. God bless our nation and God bless you. Thank you, everybody.